Today on the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast, episode number 47. What does gratitude, happiness, innovation have in common? I answer those questions next with my guest, Mike Ferry from happinessinnovation.com, and also the author of the book, Teaching Happiness Innovation. Next in the podcast. Let's do this.
Welcome to the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast, a podcast about a journey of discovery and conversations about not sitting on the sideline of life. Let's get involved. Here's host Joe Foley.
Welcome to the podcast. Hey, my name is Joe. I'm a dad, a parent, a crazy biz dog just like you. And I really want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for putting the earbuds in, put the headphones on, or listening to your way to work. It really means a lot. And this is your first time? Welcome. So you spending time to choose to listen to this podcast means you want to listen about improving yourself, about being a dad, a mom, and a better person. There'll be topics about what we go through, being a better parent, being a better dad, being a better mom, or just an overall better person. This will be a weekly podcast dedicated to sense of community. What I'm trying to get at is a sense of community is, I want to talk to you. I really do. I like connecting with people. So especially when you realize, from around the world, because the podcast is a great medium to meet many of you, or you listen to me now, because you could be listening to me in like India, or you can listen to me in England, or for some reason in California. I have a really, really good audience over there. And so, hi, California. I really do appreciate it. United States, California, United States, yes. It's a sense of community. What I want to do is I want to have a conversation with you. Feel free to reach out. Leave a comment in the podcast and the podcast show notes. Leave a comment in Apple Podcasts, leave a rating review, because I want to hear from you. We're all going through things, I love being a dad. I really do. Sometimes it can be tiring. Don't get me wrong. I understand. But I'm not an expert. I'm on a journey just like you, trying to take one day at a time in this crazy world. Next up, my conversation with Mike Ferry from happinessinnovation.com and the author of the book, Teaching Happiness Innovation. Mike is also a husband, a dad of 5 kids, and a middle school teacher. Mike understands a little bit of gratitude and innovation. Mike shares some great insights on the science of happiness. And I really like discussion about gratitude. Something that seems to resonate a lot in my conversation with people is about gratitude. So Mike shares his insights on the science of happiness. Next. Welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. Glad to be here.
Being a father of 5 kids and, so recording this, and I kind of like a little intro question, like a little question. How do you celebrate Halloween? Could being creative and innovative and happiness, how do you celebrate Halloween with your kids?
Well, Halloween is probably one of the top 3, maybe one of the top 2 holidays that we have as a family. Our kids always just love looking forward to it. And our second to youngest child is currently in 2nd grade. Our youngest boy, loves to decorate in particular throughout the year, but especially around Halloween. He'll get out the spiders and the spider webs and all the Halloween books and things. But yeah, Halloween is just so special, and especially now that my oldest is in high school and my other kids are getting older, I'm starting to feel a little nostalgic because my older kid is probably not going to be trick-or-treating this year. So I'm already starting to miss, some of these fun aspects of that holiday. But it's just so cool to dress up and go out and have a good time, and of course, load up your bag with thousands of pounds of sugar.
I know. I count my son. He's 4 now. I count like 1 for daddy, 1 for you, 1 for daddy. All right, 3, 1 for you, 3 for daddy. And I'm like, because hey, I got to walk around there. I got to get my candy too.
Well, I'd have to say one of the most enjoyable parts of the night is when we finally come home and all the kids dump their bags in the middle of the kitchen on the floor, and they start just trading and figuring out what I want and what I don't want. So it's usually there's just a massive mound of candy, and I don't do the one for you, one for daddy trick, but I will find the mounds later, and I will raid them from time to time. I have to admit it, but no, Halloween is just so cool.
You can learn a lot of skills though when you have your siblings and you put the candy in the middle of the room, and you learn a lot of skills about trading and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you get some economics lessons, little supply and demand, and scarcity. Yeah, for sure.
All right, Mike. Well, let's talk a little bit about yourself. What you do? And
well, in addition to my 5 kids, I'm a longtime middle school history teacher. And a few years ago, I went to an education conference in San Francisco. And while I was there, I learned about the science of happiness. And it really changed my life as a teacher and a dad. And that experience led me to write my book, Teaching Happiness and Innovation. And it also got me on track to do the coaching work that I do with teens and parents. And that's to help teens and preteens and also parents have stronger relationships in the family and to form habits that lead to success in school and beyond. This really is important work, the concept of teaching happiness, because stress levels are at an all-time high for kids and for parents. So if you can learn how to teach happiness at home and make these happiness habits a part of your routines, it'll be great for your kids, but also exactly what we need as parents.
How can a mom and a dad teach kids happiness? And I mean, it's just because we're under a tremendous stress being parents, and the kids are too in school. Like we're always going this way, that way, this way, and commutes and all that stuff. I mean, what is some ideas and tips that you could probably teach help parents teach kids happiness?
Sure. Well, you're so right. We're stretched in a million different directions. I mean, as you can imagine, with 5 kids, even if each kid only has one activity. Of course, our youngest is an infant, but that's 4 different activities. So my family is just always on the go, and it's hard. The modern world, for all the technology that we have, we really should be making life easier on ourselves, but instead we go in the other direction. We make it harder. But what the science of happiness tells us is that certain habits and behaviors contribute to our emotional well-being. So as a parent, if you can identify these habits and practice them, even if it's only 5 minutes here or there, then that repetition over time will make a big impact. And my first recommendation to parents who want to teach happiness is to start with gratitude. The gratitude is really simple. It's free. It doesn't require a prescription. And the more often that we practice gratitude, the easier it will become. So when you're in the minivan or in the car or whatever, on the way to soccer practice or school or wherever you have to go, you could just take a minute or two and say, hey, what are some things we have to be grateful for? And in addition to forming these habits of happiness, it's also a good opportunity to bond with your kids, and you get a window into the things that they think are really important, and that can lead to some cool conversations. Another idea for gratitude is to start a gratitude wall.
Oh, what's that?
In your house?
What is that about? Like a gratitude wall? Well, how would somebody go do that? That's interesting.
Well, it's really easy. All you need is a little stack of Post-it notes. And you just write down something you're grateful for, or maybe you draw a picture. And every day or every few days, find a place in your house, maybe in your kitchen, somewhere where you spend a lot of time, and just stick it up on the wall, or get a poster board and stick them on the poster board on the wall. And the thing is, typically we tend to focus on the things that are not going well. We all love to complain, and there are a million things that are going wrong in our lives and in the world. But if we can build this gratitude wall, then gradually we see, wow, there really are a lot of great things happening that we just forget about. And it's that repetition that makes it stick, both for parents and for kids.
Do you think sometimes we just forget? I mean, we are I guess negative and always trying to fix what's wrong with us and or wrong with our kids. Do you think we get into fall in bad habits? I mean,
yeah, for sure. Well, the more we focus on negativity, the more negative we're going to feel. Mm-hmm. And but one of the most uplifting aspects of this science of happiness is that through positive thinking and through focusing on the things that we can improve, we improve our overall well-being. We improve our health, because the happier you are, the healthier you are. And instead of looking at what's wrong in our lives, if we look at today as an opportunity to do something right and build on that day after day, we're going to see a big impact.
Well, that's interesting. And but also too, gratitude. I mean, in other ways. I've heard people do it at dinner time too, like a gratitude at dinner time, and stuff like that. I mean, I really like that wall. That was interesting.
Yeah. Well, again, the thing about gratitude is that it's easy, it's free. You can do it whenever. Mm-hmm. As an individual parent, in your office, your cubicle, wherever you happen to be for your profession, you could put up a gratitude wall there. You could have one going at home with your kids. You could have a gratitude journal that you keep maybe next to your bed, and right before you go to bed at night, try to jot down 3 things you're grateful for. In the car, around the dinner table. Once you get started, if you really make gratitude a priority, then there's no end to the ways that you can be grateful.
I was interesting. You mentioned about coaching parents and teens for a happier life. Have any stories or anything you could share about that? I was interested.
Well, yeah. So I was talking with a parent a little while back, and actually her reaction was, she was sort of becoming overwhelmed emotionally, saying, just thank you so much for this lesson of gratitude in particular that you've been working on with my daughter. And it's really changed our conversations at the dinner table in other places. And not only is it what's in the best interest of the kids, but that whole process brings parents and kids together. And, those of us who are parents, often we're experiencing a lot of stress, and we're not as happy as we used to be. And it's actually completely normal. The whole concept of the midlife crisis is a real thing. And I was reading some studies about it over the last few years. And typically, early in life, we tend to start out pretty happy. We don't have a lot of things going wrong. We don't have too many responsibilities. Our brain chemicals are at a level that naturally keep us happy. But over time, those brain chemicals like dopamine and serotonin tend to go on the wane. And by the time we get into our 30s and 40s and 50s, we're just not as happy as we used to be. And at actually age 46, on average, is the lowest point of human happiness for human beings. So if you're a parent and you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, not only are you dealing with the stress of parenting and career and balancing everything we have to do, but you're also, just from a brain chemical standpoint, you're not going to be as happy as you used to be. So if you can start practicing these habits that naturally get your brain back to where you want it to be, that's a way to make the midlife crisis go away as well.
You always see the people who are more positive, have more confidence, and they also share that with their kids also too. It seems like it rubs off of what they are confident and happy. You can see their kids are the same way.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's a snowball. And yet negativity can snowball, but positivity can snowball too. And it affects the kids in your life, but it also affects your coworkers, your friends, your family members. So yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting. You was talking about, when young age and until like 46, the dopamine and the, what was the other one? Dopamine and
the serotonin.
Serotonin, yes. And I know my son's 4 and he's happy. He's jumping around and, I'm like, man, I don't want him to lose that.
Yeah. Yeah. And as dads, we feel that because the world, of course, in many ways, the world is an incredibly beautiful place, and we're really lucky to be alive at this period in human history. But, if you just watch the news for 1 hour, it's just really depressing out there. And we want to do everything we can to maybe not put our kids in a cocoon, but we want to shield them from all the stress and the horror of the big bad world out there. But so there are those external pressures that will hit a kid as he or she is growing up. But then as we enter adolescence, that's the time when the brain chemicals like dopamine start to slow down. That process continues all the way through our middle-age years. By starting early, with a 4-year-old or any other age child, if we can start practicing gratitude and the other habits of happiness, then by the time they reach those teenage years, they'll have a stronger emotional immune system, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So the things that are going to come at them, and we know they're coming from school and from elsewhere, but our kids can form a more resilient way of being, and they won't be bothered as much.
There's a big transition. I bought you a book. I know what happiness, we've been talking about happiness, but what is the innovation part of it? What is that part?
Sure. Well, a few years ago when I was introduced to the science of happiness, I was thinking a lot about the nature of education, the purpose of school, why we're subjecting kids to torture, for all these years. And it dawned on me that it's important, probably more important now than it's ever been in the history of the world, to help our kids form innovative mindsets. Because if you look where we're going, the rate of change of technology is just astounding. You think about, we just celebrated the 10th anniversary of the iPhone.
Oh,
and in the last 10 years, how much life has changed on our planet. It's unbelievable. And there's a prediction from Oxford University that within the next 20 years, 47% of all existing jobs might be automated.
Oh, wow. That is that's scary too.
It's really scary. So it's basically half of all jobs that exist might be performed by robots someday. Mm-hmm. So as our kids are going through school, in many ways, the school system has been built up to prepare for a life that is not going to be there. So it's imperative as parents and in our schools that we help cultivate creativity and critical thinking. And we help our kids think about ways they could become entrepreneurs, because down the road, they may have to invent their own jobs. And more, we're going to have to think about new ways to structure societies as well. I mean, if we're in a situation where there are lots of people who'd love to have jobs, but there just aren't many jobs to go around, that raises a lot of questions.
It's interesting. You see a lot of jobs going away. What else you could think of? A lot of the stores closing. A lot of the people working there are losing their jobs. I know manufacturing. Because a lot of them have gone to automation, and you could see it coming. You could see it definitely coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I live in the state of Virginia. I've got family in New York, and this summer we drove up and spent some time in New York. And once we entered the state of New York, I don't think we saw a single toll booth collector. It's all Easy Pass. Or if you don't have Easy Pass, you just drive through and picture, they send you something in the mail. But yeah, that's just the tip of the iceberg. About a month ago, for the first time, I saw a self-powered lawnmower.
Oh wow!
If you just imagine a push mower without the handle, so it's just the base mower, and it was mowing the lawn by itself, and it was really smart. When it got up against a tree, it stopped, backed up, turned around, went the other direction. So automation is coming. We can't fight it. And I don't think we want to fight it because it's going to lead to many new opportunities. But there are going to be lots of people who are struggling because jobs that we've been training ourselves for and jobs that we've been performing for decades are vanishing, and that trend will continue.
You always see on TV how this one kid at 14 started a business, and he's very successful and making more money than his parents. And it's always interesting to see those kids. I don't know if you have an example how to teach kids entrepreneurship and innovation.
Well, my older kids are really into fishing, and they spend a lot of time watching fishing videos on YouTube. YouTube, by the way, for someone who grew up in the 90s, YouTube was just amazing. You can learn anything. You can learn how to do complicated surgeries on YouTube. You can learn how to change your oil, whatever. And if you're into fishing or golf or any other kind of habit, YouTube is just an amazing resource. So they're exploring ways to maybe create their own fishing channel on YouTube, and they're exploring maybe how to get sponsorships by different fishing companies. So I think what you do is you try to have conversations with your kids that say, what is an asset? What's the difference between an asset and a liability? Mm-hmm. And basically an asset is anything that might potentially generate an income. Mm-hmm. And a liability is something that just spending money on. It's never going to lead anywhere. It might be fun, but it's probably never ever going to make money. So you just try to introduce your kids to the concept of looking for assets and think about demand, think about what people like, what people don't like. So there's an empathy piece mm-hmm. that's involved, critical thinking. It's not just memorizing a bunch of random names and dates and things, but actually thinking step by step how one thing leads to another and imagining new opportunities. It's a process. You can't just snap your fingers and make it happen overnight, but it's something that can happen for sure.
Another thing I was on your website, and I'm just curious. There was something called 20-day Happy Family Challenge. How would somebody go about doing that? How to start that in their family? It sounds it'd be interesting to start.
Oh, sure. Well, thank you. So if you go to my website, it's happinessandinnovation.com. And there's a link up there on the top for Happy Family. And it's a 21-day little mini course. And each day I've given you an idea of a happiness habit to work on, like gratitude, kindness, creativity. I've got some others up there too. And just day by day, work on these things with your family and see what happens. I think it won't make the situation worse. That's for sure. But it's just playful, lighthearted ways to inject a little bit more fun and happiness into your home life.
It's important. Being an involved parent, the kids want your attention, so it's good to be involved.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And, there's studies showing that especially dads. I mean, as fathers, we are really important in the lives of kids. And if dads are involved in their children's lives, then there are just so many benefits. Their memory is better, their focus, self-discipline. So that's going to help their grades at school. It's going to help their personal relationships with friends and family members, eventually coworkers. So having dads involved in the lives of kids, not on the sidelines, right?
Yeah,
off the sidelines, on the field, then it makes a very big difference.
I want to also too, what offer coaching stuff that you offer for your services? What is on your website?
So if you go to happinessandinnovation.com, once again, you can click on courses, and that's a little description of the work I do. With teens, I have a course called Success Training for Teens, and that's a 12-week coaching program where I help kids improve their communication skills, like listening or resolving conflicts, engaging in dialogue, etc. Then also we work on developing personal strengths like commitment and perseverance, self-confidence, self-discipline. And we also will work on ideas from mindfulness training. So ways to improve your emotional well-being through stress reduction. And also, I weave in a lot of these happiness habits, like gratitude, for example. Mm-hmm. And the idea is over a period of time, a teen or a preteen will improve their emotional immune system. So, if there's teasing or bullying going on, or if their parents are divorced, or if they moved, or if school has gotten a lot harder, then you're going to be more resilient. It's going to be easier to get through those tough times that we know kids are going to face. Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, it's about building up their strengths so that in school and in their professions and their relationships down the road, they're just better prepared to have more success.
All right. Well, wrapping up, I guess, final thoughts. Any final thoughts for moms and dads out there that you can think of?
Well, as parents, things can get really overwhelming. Sleep deprivation and managing schedules and just trying to stay on top of things. And I think the biggest takeaway that I would share with parents is if you want your kids to be happy in the long run, and if you think about it, that's the holy grail of parenting, right? That's really what we want. We want our kids to survive all the perils of growing up and go on to have a happy life. And it is possible. And we can start early, and the process will make ourselves happier as adults as well. And it all boils down to this concept from Aristotle. And one of my favorite quotes of all time is, "We are what we repeatedly do." And the habits that we practice as parents and the habits that we help our kids practice will get them on track for the lives we want for them.
So basically, lead by example. It sounds like what you're saying.
Sure. But yeah, without a doubt, it helps us. It helps our kids.
And where they can find you, anything, contact information? Sure.
Well, I'm on Twitter. If you want to find me there, it's Mike Ferry 7, the number 7, Mike Ferry 7. Also, you can like my Facebook page. There's a link from my website. Once again, that's happinessandinnovation.com. And if you sign up for my mailing list on my website, then you can download a free chapter from my book, Teaching Happiness and Innovation. And I'll also keep you in the loop to share more ideas on how to have a happier family.
I mentioned, I was looking at your website too. Is there a podcast or right now, or?
Yeah, there is. So if you go to my website, click on podcast, you can hear a number of episodes that I've recorded. It's just me. It's the Teaching Happiness and Innovation podcast, and just sharing more ideas with parents on how to transform their home lives to be happier and more creative places.
Well, thank you, Mike, for being on the podcast today. All the links that we talked about will be in the show notes. I really do appreciate being on today.
Oh, well, Joe, I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for having me.
I want to say thank you for joining me on the No Sitting on the Sideline Dad podcast. And I want to say thanks to Mike Ferry for being on the podcast. You find more about Mike over at happinessandinnovation.com. Also, links in the show notes over at nosittingonthesideline.com/47. Please comment on the podcast. See all the comments that improve the podcast. Because you know what? I can't approve something I don't know. I can't measure by your opinion or what do you think about the show? Also, if you have a second, head over to your, if you're on Spotify or if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review. Let me know you're out there. You can find more about me or my social media or email links at nosittingonthesideline.com/contact. Also, please sign up for the newsletter. Keep you up to date with what's going on. Well, the science of happiness, trying to be happy. And sometimes in this fast-paced world, it can be hard. Take time to listen to your children. Take time to visit your family. Take time to give them hugs and tell them how much you love them. You know what? Time's short. Thank you for listening. Take care. God bless. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the podcast. Please subscribe to the newsletter to receive updates of the show and helpful and useful tips. This has been a production of Foley 42 Media.